When my parents lost their jobs, I had to drop out of school to take care of my younger brother. After several years of struggling to make sure he became a lawyer, at his graduation party, he made me sit outside with my chair having a written tag which read, "The Lazy One." This wasn't even the worst that happened. Hello. Thank you for your continuous support. This means a lot to us. If you enjoy the stories we share, kindly subscribe to this channel. It will be great if you can leave a comment on which city you are watching from. We might just give you a shout out in our next story. Today's special shout out goes to Nancy from Northwest Ohio. We are glad you enjoy our stories. Now let's dive into the details of today's story. I'd never forget the way my boots crunched against the gravel outside Ethan's graduation party. It was March 31st, 2020, and I was 26, carrying a decade of sweat on my shoulders just to see my little brother in a cap and gown. The community center buzzed with laughter and clinking glasses, and I stepped inside expecting something, maybe a nod, a thanks, anything for the years I'd given up. Instead, I got a chair with a sign taped to it, "The Lazy One." That's when I knew I'd been a fool. 10 years earlier, I'd been 17, a junior with grease-stained hands and a dream of owning a garage. Then the factory shut down, and Mom and Dad lost their jobs. Bills stacked up like dirty dishes, and Ethan, just 10, needed someone to keep him fed, clothed, and in school. I dropped out, traded textbooks for time cards, and started hauling lumber, fixing cars, whatever paid. Mom sank into the couch, Dad into his beer, and I became the glue holding us together. Every paycheck went to them, and when Ethan got into law school, I picked up extra shifts to cover his tuition. My dreams? They rusted away in the back of my mind. That night at the party, I wore my best flannel, the one without holes, and carried a six-pack as a peace offering. Ethan, 22 now, strutted around in a suit, shaking hands with his fancy new friends. He'd made it, top of his class, a job lined up at some big firm. I swelled with pride until he waved me over. "Stan, got a special seat for you," he said, smirking. He led me outside, past the folding tables, to a lone plastic chair by the dumpster. The sign stared up at me in black marker, "The Lazy One." His buddies snickered, and one clapped him on the back. "Good one, Ethan." My face burned. I stood there, six-pack dangling from my hand, while they laughed like I was the punchline to a joke I'd never heard. I'd worked myself raw for this kid. Nights I'd slept in my truck to save gas, days I'd skipped meals so he could have books, and he'd turned me into a clown for his shiny new life. I wanted to smash the bottles, to grab him by that stupid tie and ask why. But I just stood there, fist clenched, until the laughter died down and they wandered back inside. I found Mom and Dad by the punch bowl, their faces flushed from cheap wine. "What the hell was that?" I asked, voice low so no one else would hear. Mom giggled, patting my arm. "Oh, Stan, it's just a joke. Don't be so serious." Dad nodded, slurping his drink. "Kid's proud of himself. Let him have his fun." Fun. 10 years of my life for their fun. I turned away, their chuckles chasing me out the door. In my truck, I sat with the engine off, staring at the dashboard. The glove box held a check, $300, my latest donation to their electric bill. I'd been sending them money every month, even after Ethan moved out, because that's what I did, kept them afloat. But that sign, those laughs, they clawed at me. I thought of the kid I'd been, sketching car designs in math class, dreaming of a shop with my name on it. Where'd he gone? Buried under their weight, that's where. I pulled out my phone, hands shaking, and scrolled to the trade school website I'd bookmarked months ago. Auto mechanics program, night classes, starting next week. I'd ignored it, told myself I didn't have time, didn't have the money. But I'd had the money, just gave it all to them. Not anymore. I clicked enroll, filled out the form, and hit submit before I could second guess it. Then I grabbed that check from the glove box, tore it in half, and let the pieces flutter to the floor mat. The drive home was quiet, just the hum of tires on asphalt. My apartment waited, a one-room dump with a mattress and a hot plate, but it was mine. I kicked off my boots, pulled a beer from the fridge, and sat on the edge of the bed. The torn check stared up at me from my pocket, a promise or a dare. I wasn't sure which. All I knew was I'd carried them long enough. Ethan could play his games, Mom and Dad could laugh, but I was done being their mule. Tomorrow, I'd start fixing cars for me, not them. And I'd be damned if I let anyone call me lazy again. The first week after I tore up that check, I felt like a man waking up from a long, bad dream. Trade school started Monday, and I walked into that classroom with my head high, toolbox in hand, ready to learn something for myself. The guy next to me, Hank, a grizzled mechanic with a buzz cut and a limp, sized me up and grunted, "You look like you've turned a wrench before." I nodded. "Fixed more cars than I can count, just not for me." He smirked, and that was that. By Friday, I was working part-time at his shop, elbows deep in a busted transmission, feeling alive for the first time in years. My apartment was still a hole, peeling paint, a fridge that rattled, but I didn't care. I'd stopped sending mom and dad money, and that freed up cash for tools and tuition. Nights, I'd sit at my rickety table, sketching car designs on napkins. Not just repairs, but ideas, sleek intakes, custom frames, stuff I'd dreamed about as a kid before life buried it. I'd sip a beer, pencil moving fast, and think, this is mine. They can't take this. The calls started Tuesday. Mom's voice crackled through my phone, sharp and whiny. "Stanley, the power bill's due. You're not sending anything." I leaned against the wall, staring at a crack in the plaster. "Not this time, Mom. I'm done." She gasped like I'd slapped her. "After all we've been through? You're abandoning us." I clenched my jaw. "I've been carrying you for 10 years. Figure it out." I hung up before she could cry, but my chest ached. Dad tried next, gruff and slurring. "Ethan's big shot now, but we're still family. You owe us." "Owe them?" I laughed, bitter, and blocked his number. Ethan stayed quiet, probably too busy posting selfies in his suit on social media. I scrolled past one, him grinning outside his firm, caption, "Living the dream." Good for him. I didn't need his thanks, but I wasn't footing his old life anymore. My phone buzzed nonstop, though texts from Mom piling up. "We raised you. How could you?" I muted her too, but the words stuck like grease under my nails. Work at Hank's shop kept me sane. He was a hard ass, yelled if I stripped a bolt, but fair. One day, he caught me sketching during a break. "What's that?" he asked, peering over my shoulder. I showed him a rough draft of a lightweight exhaust system. He squinted, then nodded. "Not bad, kid. Got a head for this. Don't waste it." That stuck with me. No one ever called me smart before, not since I quit school. I started bringing my sketches to work, tweaking them while engines roared around me. Then Mom showed up. It was a Thursday, 2 weeks after the party, and I was under a sedan, swapping a fuel pump. Hank tapped my leg. "Visitor." I slid out, wiping my hands, and there she was, hair wild, purse clutched tight. "Stanley," she said, voice trembling, "we're behind on everything. Water's next. You can't do this to us." Customers glanced over, and I felt their eyes like pinpricks. I stood, towering over her, and kept my voice low. "I've done enough, Mom. Ethan's got his degree. You've got him. I'm building something now." Her lip quivered. "You're selfish. Always were." Selfish. After a decade of bleeding for them. I pointed to the door. "Go home. I've got work." She left, muttering, and Hank clapped my shoulder. "Family's a bitch sometimes. Keep your head down, Stan." I nodded, slid back under the car, and cranked the wrench harder than I needed to. That night, I sketched until my hand cramped, a sharp, aggressive design, all angles and power. It felt good, like I was carving myself out of their shadow. The call stopped after that, but the silence was loud. I checked my phone, half expecting Ethan to chime in, but nothing. Maybe he didn't notice the money drying up. His firm probably paid him plenty. I didn't care. I had Hank, the shop, and a stack of sketches growing taller each day. One evening, I finished a design, a sleek, efficient engine block, and pinned it to my wall. It stared back at me, proof I wasn't the guy on that chair. Not anymore. But late at night, lying on my lumpy mattress, I'd hear Mom's voice, selfish, and wonder if I'd gone too far. They'd raised me, sure, but I'd raised them too, hadn't I? I pushed it down, focused on the hum of the fridge, the pencil callus on my finger. This was my shot, and I wasn't turning back. Not yet. By mid-April, I'd settled into a rhythm. Classes, shop, sketches. Trade school was tough, but I aced the hands-on stuff, tearing apart engines like I'd been born to it. Hank started trusting me with bigger jobs at the shop, overhauling a pickup suspension, rebuilding a carburetor, and I'd come home with black hands and a grin. My sketches weren't just doodles anymore. They were turning into something real. One night, I bolted together a prototype, a lightweight intake manifold I'd designed from scratch. It wasn't perfect, but it worked, humming smooth on a test bench. Hank saw it and raised an eyebrow. "That's pro-level, Stan. You're wasting time not showing this off." I shrugged, but his words lit a fire in me. Meanwhile, Ethan's world started cracking. I'd unmuted Mom's texts, mostly out of habit, and one popped up late on a Wednesday. "Ethan's in trouble. Firm's a mess." I scrolled his social media, expecting more suit pics, but found a news link instead. His law firm had tanked. Some senior partner cooked the books, dragged the whole place down. Ethan was out, jobless, his shiny degree useless overnight. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screen. Part of me wanted to laugh, Mr. Big Shot, brought low. But another part, the part that had tucked him in at 10, felt a pang I couldn't shake. Mom's next text hit harder. "We're behind on the mortgage." Ethan can't help. I pictured the house, sagging porch, chipped paint, where I'd grown up fixing leaks while Dad napped. They'd leaned on me so long, they didn't know how to stand without me. I typed back, "Not my problem," and tossed the phone on the bed. But it buzzed again, Dad this time, his voice rough over voicemail. "Stan, we're losing the place. Come home. We need you." I deleted it, but his tone, cracked, desperate, stayed with me. At the shop, I kept my head down. Hank had me on a rush job. Some guy's Jeep needed a new axle by Friday, and I threw myself into it, torquing bolts until my arms ached. Between turns, I finished my prototype, tweaking the welds until it gleamed. Hank wandered over, wiping his hands. "What's eating you, kid? You're quiet today." I nodded at the intake. "Just this." He snorted. "Bull. Spill it." I sighed, told him about Ethan's fall, the house. He listened, then said, "You didn't break him. They did that themselves. Focus on this." He tapped the prototype, "not their mess." I nodded, but it wasn't that easy. Friday night, Dad called again. I picked up, too tired to dodge. "Stanley," he slurred. "Bank's taking the house. Ethan's useless, running around begging for work. We're done." His voice broke, and I gripped the phone, picturing him in his recliner, bottle in hand. "You've got Ethan," I said, cold. "Ask the hard-working one to save you." He coughed, a wet, ugly sound. "He's not you, Stan. Never was." I hung up, heart pounding. Not me. I'd been their crutch, not their hero. I grabbed my keys and drove. No destination, just asphalt and headlights, trying to outrun the guilt clawing up my throat. Back home, I stared at my prototype, its curves catching the dim light. It was good, damn good, and I knew it. Hank was right. This was my shot. I'd spent years lifting them up, and now they were sinking without me. Ethan's smug face at that party flashed in my mind, the lazy one sign burning behind my eyes. Let him figure it out. Let them all. I pinned a new sketch to the wall, a sharper, bolder intake, and told myself I was done caring. But sleep didn't come easy. I lay there, the fridge humming, replaying Dad's voice. "Not you, Stan," and Ethan's fall. Mom's texts glowed on my phone. "We're packing tomorrow." I didn't reply, but I couldn't delete it either. Saturday, I hauled the prototype to school, showed it to my instructor. He whistled. "This could win you something, Stanley. Trade shows next month. Enter it." I nodded, adrenaline kicking in. A win. A real one for me. Not them. By Sunday, I heard through a buddy, Jake, who still lived near Mom and Dad, that Ethan was crashing on their couch. No job, no plan. The house was slipping away, and they were scrambling. I tightened a bolt on a customer's sedan, jaw set. They'd made their bed. I had mine, grease-stained, full of blueprints, and mine alone. But as I wiped my hands, Dad's cracked voice echoed, and I wondered how long I could keep pretending it didn't matter. The trade show was a week away, and I was living on coffee and adrenaline. My prototype, that sleek intake manifold, sat on my table, polished to a shine, ready to prove I was more than a dropout who'd carried my family. Hank had drilled me on the pitch. "Stand tall, Stan. Show him what you've got." I practiced in front of my cracked mirror, words stumbling at first, then steadying. This was it. My shot to break free, to build something with my name on it. But that Friday night, Ethan showed up, and everything tilted. I was at the shop late, tweaking a valve on a customer's bike, when the door creaked. I slid out from under the frame, expecting Hank, but there he was, Ethan, my little brother, looking like he'd been chewed up and spat out. No suit, just a hoodie and jeans, hair messy, eyes red. "Stan," he said, voice hoarse, "I need to talk." I wiped my hands on a rag, pulse kicking up. "Shop's closed." "Say it quick." He stepped closer, hands shoved in his pockets. "I screwed up. I'm sorry. Sorry." I almost laughed. For what? The chair? The sign? Or cashing in 10 years of my life for your law degree? He flinched, but didn't back off. All of it. That night, I was an ass. Wanted to look big for those guys, prove I belonged. Didn't think it'd hit you like that. I tossed the rag on the bench, arms crossed. Didn't think. That's the problem, Ethan. You never did. He nodded, slow, like it hurt. I know. And now the firm's gone. I've got nothing, and Mom and Dad, they're losing the house. I can't fix it. I need you. I stared at him, the kid I'd bandaged up after bike wrecks, now begging. You need me, I echoed, sharp. Funny, 'cause I needed you to not treat me like garbage. Where was that? He looked down, scuffing his shoe on the concrete. I was wrong, Stan. I owed you everything, and I threw it back in your face. I'm asking now, help them. Please. His voice cracked, and I saw the 10-year-old in him again, scared and small. I turned away, gripping the workbench, knuckles white. Sleep was a lost cause after he left. I drove home, replaying his words, the sorry that felt too late. Next morning, I skipped the shop and headed to the house. Mom and Dad were there, boxing up dishes in the kitchen, the air thick with defeat. Mom saw me first, dropped a plate, thankfully plastic, and rushed over. Stanley, you came. Dad looked up, bleary-eyed, and muttered, about time. I held up a hand. I'm not here to bail you out. Not with cash. Mom's face fell. But the bank, I cut her off. I've got numbers, county aid programs, a guy at the shop who knows loans. You're taking it from there. Dad snorted. What, no check? After all we did. I stepped closer, voice low. All you did? I kept this roof over your head since I was 17. You leaned on me till I broke. Ethan's here now. Let him step up. Mom teared up, but didn't argue. Dad just grabbed another box, muttering under his breath. Ethan lingered by the stairs, watching. I walked over, keeping my tone even. You want a fresh start? Earn it. I'm not your fix anymore. He nodded, quick, like he'd expected it. I will. I swear. I didn't trust him, not yet, but I stuck out my hand. He took it, grip shaky but firm, and I let go fast. Good luck, I said, and meant it, sort of. I left them there, Mom sniffling, Dad packing, Ethan staring, and drove back to my life. Sunday, I locked myself in the shop, prepping for the show. I ran through my pitch again, voice steady now, picturing the crowd. Hank stopped by, clapped my shoulder. You're ready, kid. Don't let him drag you back. I nodded, but Ethan's face, Mom's tears, stuck with me. I'd drawn a line, but it wobbled. That night, I sketched something new, not an engine part, but a car frame, lean and strong, labeled the lazy one in my head. A middle finger to that sign, a promise to myself. By Monday, I heard from Jake Ethan was job hunting. Mom and Dad were calling the numbers I'd left. They'd survive, maybe. I didn't check. I had bolts to tighten, a pitch to nail, a future to grab. But as I packed my prototype, Ethan's sorry echoed, and I wondered if I'd ever fully shake them off. The trade show hit like a freight train, and I was ready. It was late April, a Saturday, and the convention center buzzed with gearheads and suits, all eyeing the tables lined with parts and prototypes. Mine sat front and center, my intake manifold, gleaming under the lights, a piece of me forged in steel. I'd spent the week after Ethan's visit prepping, running my pitch till it was muscle memory, ignoring the texts piling up from Mom. Hank stood by me that morning, arms crossed, gruff as ever. Don't choke, Stan. You've got this. I nodded, adjusted my flannel, and waited for the crowd. People trickled in, mechanics, shop owners, a few guys in ties who looked like they'd never touched a wrench. I launched into it. This intake boosts efficiency 10%, cuts weight without losing strength, built for performance, not flash. They nodded, asked sharp questions, horsepower gains, cost to produce, and I answered, calm, like I'd been doing this forever. One guy, bald with a clipboard, lingered longest. You designed this solo, he asked. Yeah, I said, meeting his eye. start to finish. He scribbled something, handed me a card, Riverside Manufacturing, and said, "We'll talk." My pulse jumped, but I kept it cool, shook his hand, and watched him walk off. The high didn't fade. An hour later, clipboard guy, turned out his name was Mike, pulled me aside. "We're looking for fresh designs. Yours fits. Small contract to start, build a batch, see where it goes." I stared at the paper he slid me, numbers and terms blurring together. Not a fortune, but a start, real money, real work, my name on something. I signed, grinning like an idiot, and Hank thumped my back. "Told you, kid. You're in." I clutched that contract, proof I wasn't the guy on that chair anymore. Driving home, I let it sink in. 10 years of hauling everyone else, and now I'd hauled myself up. My phone buzzed. Jake, my buddy from the old neighborhood. Heard Ethan slinging coffee downtown, some entry gig. "Your folks got a rent deal through that aid thing you sent. They're hanging on." I exhaled, tension I didn't know I'd held loosening. They'd made it, sort of. Ethan was scrambling, Mom and Dad scraping by, not my burden now. I didn't call back, didn't need to. That chapter was closed. Sunday, I hit the shop alone, contract tucked in my pocket. I'd kept sketching after Ethan's apology, not just parts, but a whole car, lean and mean, born from that lazy one idea. I spread the pages out, lines sharp under the fluorescence, and saw it. A frame that could move, something I'd build one day. I tacked them up, a roadmap for what came next. The sign from that party flashed in my mind, but I didn't flinch. It wasn't me, it never had been. Monday, I got a text from Ethan. "Thanks for the push. Working on it." Short, no begging, just him. I typed back, "Keep it up," and left it there. No big hug, no tears, just a crack in the wall between us, small enough to live with. Mom called later, voice softer. "We're in a trailer now. It's okay. You doing all right?" I paused, then said, "Yeah, Mom, I am." She didn't ask for more, and I didn't offer. That was enough. The next week, I shipped my first batch of intakes to Riverside, packed them myself in the shop after hours. Hank watched, smirking. "You're a pro now, Stan. Don't forget me when you're rich." I laughed, first real one in months. "You're stuck with me, old man." He waved me off, but I caught his grin. That night, I climbed into my truck, the same beat-up rig I'd driven since 17, and hit the road out of town. No plan, just driving past the house I'd saved, past the life I'd left. The sketches rode shotgun, a stack of them now, each one a step away from that sign. I pulled over on a quiet stretch, engine idling, and flipped through intakes, frames, a future I could touch. I wasn't running anymore, not from them or myself. Mom and Dad would limp along, Ethan might climb back up, and I'd keep building. Maybe one day we'd talk, really talk, but not yet. For now, I had this, grease on my hands, a contract in my pocket, a road ahead. I shifted into gear, headlights cutting the dark, and drove. The weight was gone, lifted by my own damn hands, and I wasn't looking back. So that's Stanley's story, breaking free, building his own path. What do you think? Did he make the right call cutting ties? Or should he have helped his family more? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every one. If you vibed with this, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss what's next. I've got more stories like this coming, real people, real stakes. See you in the next one.